I think there are three things that we could see in this report that could actually move Republican opinion substantially in the course of as it becomes public. First is presidential involvement in a specific crime related to the 2016 campaign.
Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing.
For instance, attempting to coordinate with Russia to release hacked emails at a key moment to inflict maximum damage on Trump's opponent.
Second is a pattern of obstruction of justice, something where Mueller was able to paint a picture of months or even years-long pattern of activities that make clear that the president's motive was to obstruct justice.
For example, if Trump fired his FBI director for less than wholesome reasons.
Regardless of recommendation, I was going to fire Comey. And in fact, when I decided to just do it, I said to myself, I said, this Russia thing with Trump and Russia is a made-up story.
The third is sort of the counterintelligence question, which is, does Mueller have any evidence that Donald Trump at any point conspired with a foreign power or took actions to advance a foreign power's interests at the expense of the United States?
Some say Trump's pursuit of real estate deals in Moscow to his persistent agreement with the Kremlin on matters like election meddling suggest just that.
They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia.
Or these could be runaway suspicions without substance.
One of the things that we lose sight of is that the best case for the United States is that this was all a series of weird coincidences and misunderstandings. He has already shown that even if there was no conspiracy, there was no collusion with Russia, that Donald Trump led the most criminal presidential campaign in American history, that it was a stunning gathering of criminality of greed at a scale almost unimaginable and without peer in the history of American politics.
Okay, to dig into what we know now and what might happen next, more crucially, we're joined by Andrew Cohen. He's a law professor at the University of Arizona, author of the book Prosecuting the President, How Special Prosecutors Hold Presidents Accountable and Protect the Rule of Law, so he knows what he's talking about, and Keith Bogue, the CBC's Washington correspondent, who's done extensive coverage of the Mueller investigation. Good to see you both, gentlemen. Andrew, I'm going to start with you. How much do you think Barr will actually reveal to Congress and to the public?
All he is committed to revealing so far in the letter that he sent to Congress today is the special prosecutor's principal conclusions, which could be quite limited indeed. Now, he's offered to release those principal conclusions as early as this weekend, so there's some suggestion that that won't be the end of what he reveals to Congress, but we really don't know what he will decide to release, and in some significant sense we're operating in uncharted territory here because Robert Mueller's investigation is the first special prosecution or special prosecutor investigation in American history conducted under the current regulations, the first significant investigation conducted under those current regulations, and so there really aren't a lot of guideposts here from past history.
Okay, so let me turn to you then, Keith, and ask you the more political question related to that. No matter what Barr releases, will that be adequate for Congress?
Oh, it won't be adequate for Congress, and I think maybe it might be even more important whether it's adequate for the public in general. I mean, look how much attention has been paid to this investigation over the last nearly 2 years, and the idea that somehow we would just get a little synopsis of what the broad conclusions are and that would be publicly acceptable, I think borders on the absurd. I think it has to be done in a way that not only appears to be transparent, but is in fact transparent. And of course, everything changed with midterm elections. When Democrats took control of the House, they have subpoena power now. There's a lot that they can do. If the White House wants to have a fight over how much of this to release, I think Democrats will say, bring it on.
Andrew Cohen, back to you. Officials have said, as Paul reported there, that there will be no further indictment. Do you interpret that to mean, though, that there is no other possibility of a criminal investigation that needs to be investigated?
I don't interpret it that way. I think that it's already clear that Robert Mueller has spun off several criminal investigations to other prosecutors around the country, ordinary federal prosecutors, not special prosecutors, and that there are many current investigations ongoing that pertain directly or indirectly to the president, most notably the ones being conducted by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York. We don't know what else Mueller might be spinning off as he winds down his investigation. But it does seem pretty clear that at this stage, the special prosecutor will not himself be recommending any indictments, that it will be up to other prosecutors at this stage if there are going to be further indictments coming down.
And would that, Keith, then be an enormous amount of relief for the president? Would he already think that that is a victory tonight, hearing that news?
Well, he might think so tonight. He might not think so in 48 hours. It really depends upon what the Mueller report says about his behavior. Because remember, we had an example in the Michael Cohen plea deal where the president was not named, but was indicated as individual one, someone who was an unindicted co-conspirator, if I may put it that way. It's quite possible that the Mueller report, Mueller will not indict the president because he is a sitting president, as Paul said in his piece, but that he will outline a series of events or a type of behavior that would unquestionably be criminal behavior if it were done by any other person. And we know this because he's done it before. So I think that they're, until they've been through the whole document themselves, I don't think it's a good time for them, to be thinking about good night's sleep, so to speak.
Andrew, what do you think is likely to happen next? I mean, obviously we'll get these principal conclusions. There'll likely be a fight in the courts about how much more should be released. But what is likely to happen after this?
There will be a fight if Attorney General Barr decides to disclose anything less than the full report. But at this stage, we don't know what he's going to choose to disclose. We don't know which tools Congress is going to deploy in an attempt to pry any undisclosed portions of the report out of the Attorney General's hands. But I think one thing is very clear. Whatever the report says, the fact that Robert Mueller has been able to complete this investigation is in and of itself a victory for the rule of law in the United States and a victory for American institutions. But it's a victory that has been attained despite the president's best efforts to shut down the investigation, despite the president's best efforts to subvert the rule of law and to turn the Justice Department into his personal plaything. And that is a cause for grave concern going forward. And whether the president is held accountable for those actions, either by Congress or the American people in the 2020 presidential elections, remains to be seen. If he is not, that is a very bad sign for the future of American democracy.
Okay, Andrew Cohen, Keith Bogue, thank you both for your perspectives. Appreciate it tonight.